Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
That's right. We are here to de-virus your mind tonight. That's what we do here every night. We search for the truth, and we have plenty of that to share with you this evening. We just received reports that Israel may have bombed a Russian arms depot in Syria, and they may have also targeted the new leader of Hezbollah with a bunker buster. So we're seeing major escalation in the Middle East, even as we speak. We also have a special feature interview, as promised last night, with two ladies who are fighting to save green space in Calgary as the municipality tries to deal with the housing crisis. That interview coming up thanks to our contributor, John Scotty Rimby, who's out in Calgary tonight with those two newsmakers. Donald Trump is also calling election interference in the wake of yesterday's October surprise from Special Counsel Jack Smith. Stay with me. All that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Maverick News.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight for freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are two iconic artistic designs to choose from, but there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech, free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Out in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, there is a green space known as Bonus Park, I believe. The municipality is trying to deal with the housing crisis in their community by building some affordable apartment units. But they want to do it in a park where local residents say the construction would be inappropriate. We have live with us now, out in Calgary, two newsmakers accompanied by our contributor, John Scotty Rimby, who are fighting for their neighborhood to preserve this little piece of green space, this little piece of this small oasis in the middle of urban sprawl. And we're going to go live to them to find out, what their side of the story is on this. And here they are now live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Maverick News.
Hello. Thank you for having us. I'm Leslie.
I'm Jackie.
Yeah,
and I'm Rimby John. Welcome, Maverick News family.
And
Thank
there you
you.
are. So,
There's our park.
there it is right there. So this is, ladies, what are your last names, first of all?
I'm Herrera, Leslie Herrera.
And I'm Jackie Stepanek.
Okay. And we know who John is.
Yeah,
And
he's popular.
yes, that's right. So John, thank you for helping to bring us together here tonight with these two neighborhood activists. I'm going to throw it over to you, John. Why don't you ask these ladies a little bit about what the park is about and what this issue is? Go ahead.
Well, the issue is pretty simple, Rick. It's these ladies live in Bowness, Calgary, an older part of Calgary. And this green space park has been here for like 35, 40 years. And the city is now trying to rezone it to build more housing. Bowness, for a number of years now, has been taken over by a lot of redevelopment. And I would say, in my opinion, inappropriate redevelopment where it's taken away from the character of the neighborhood. And you know, God works in mysterious ways. I came down looking at an apartment here a couple of weeks ago, and I ran into these ladies. I went, looks like a protest, Rick, a rally, right up Maverick News. So I jumped off the bus and became instant friends with these ladies. They're doing God's work in a really good way, saving farmland and parks, I think is a good thing. Because when it's gone, Rick, it's gone forever. Gone forever.
Right. So ladies, why is it important in your view to preserve this little piece of green space I mean, this is a local issue, but it's also a national and even Canada-US issue because both countries are experiencing housing shortages right now. And this is, people need places to live, but you feel that it's more important to preserve this particular piece of land. Tell me why.
So back in the early late 70s, early 80s, what ended up happening is that Sarcee Trail was going to come through here. My mother-in-law and father-in-law fought it for many years. So therefore, the city of Calgary decided to put it as a park. And then they put these trees in here in 2018. So they're an even better park for us. So what we're doing is that the building that they want to put up here is going to be so condensed, so it's going to take out most of the sun that we will not have from this day forward, type of thing. And all the buildings that are coming up around these green spaces, we need green spaces and we need parks for our generation. Because if we don't have that, what is these kids going to have? They need social skills. They need motor skills. They need this to go and proceed higher hopes for themselves. This is where you start with a park because parks are not prejudice. They have every child and every kind and every culture that comes to a park to play with. And this is why we need these parks and green spaces. If they take this one, they can take all of it. And what do we have for our future and our generation to come?
Are there any other? Sorry, go ahead. You wanted to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say also too. Once the park is gone, it'll be gone forever. It will never be another green space here.
Nope.
So this is why it's important to us because once the trees are all cut, it'll be quite sad.
Yeah, and they just planted these, right? So therefore, these parks are getting built like I call them the sardine houses because they're canned houses that are going up, and the builders are not realizing what we need. We need green spaces. We need green trees to survive. They kill whatever comes through of like carbon dioxides, for examples. Like when you're outside here, we need to breathe and the fresh air. Like you couldn't ask for anything better than
the federal government, and many municipalities, provincial governments, they call it densification, right? Because they want to put more and more people into smaller areas. Where I think they get better efficiencies when they are trying to manage municipalities and neighborhoods for a variety of services, whether it's garbage pickup or paving roads or reducing what they would say is a carbon footprint because people don't have to drive as much if they're in, closer quarters. But you're saying, I guess your argument, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that green spaces are vital to the health of a neighborhood. That it keeps people healthy physically because it's a place to go get exercise, and also a place where it keeps people mentally healthy because it keeps them in touch with nature in
Yep.
what would otherwise be a big chunk of urbanity. Is that fair? Is that kind of where you're coming
That's
from?
definitely fair. Well, I'll try to show you on the camera here if you can see. But behind me, it's kind of far, but they just tore down 2 houses, and there'll be 21 units going up over there. Um,
Talk louder.
Sorry. And also behind me over on this side, they just tore down over there. Yeah, over here.
Yes. Okay.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll be 25 houses. Or
Yeah.
sorry, 25 units.
Units.
25 units, and so
so
we're
it
talking
is
about
already-
apartment units, right? Or
Yeah.
is it
Yes.
apartment units? And it's my understanding that the one going in this park that they're rezoning it for is supposed to be, I think, 6 stories high and 50 units or something like that. Is that right?
50 units, 5 stories.
5 to
Five
6
stories.
stories high.
Yeah.
And that
And-
will be over our houses.
Yeah.
That will be way over our house. We won't get privacy. There'll be shadow all the time. So that means we're using electricity, which we shouldn't have to. We get enough from the sun that comes in. So if it's shadowing us, that means more money out of our pockets. The people that actually, you know what I mean, lived here for years. I have background here. I have a 5 generation that has lived here in Boness from my grandparents. So therefore it means a lot to us. Green spaces and parks meant a lot when we were little kids, and it
Yeah.
still does for our kids, because it's our generation that's going to grow on these parks. And if we,
So-
like we said before, you take it, you're not going to have that again.
So, ladies,
they-
what kind of activities do people engage in the park? What do they use it for? Do they play sports there? Is it just for walking, dog
it's-
walking? What do they use it for?
Well, there's a playground, so kids come and play.
And then plus the dogs get to run in
Yeah,
here.
dogs in.
There's always dogs running in here. Like right now, you don't have anybody. We missed about 5 minutes ago people on the park. They do stop. They go play. They get off. They go wherever. Mostly through the day, we've been taking pictures on every time that somebody's on this park. I go and ask if I can take a picture of them, because it's saying this park is getting used. It has been used. It's been used since 1973, and it's still being used. So for the city of Calgary selling off parks and green spaces to build these buildings on, and then they're only giving these people little areas to have their own little park in their backyard, that's not enough. It's not for mental, it's just stress alone. And we all have kids, like we all have inner kids in ourselves that love playing on the park.
Well, I certainly do. I'm a big kid inside, no doubt about that. So I can relate.
Right.
Is there any other park space in the neighborhood, or is this it?
There is green space, but that green space over where they want to put the park, they might not be able to put the park there because it might not be in the funding. So that means they're going to take a park away, and they might not be able to put another park there. But how fair is it when it's on by the train tracks? Like, it's great. Kids love trains, but we all know what happens when you get one eye off a child, and you
They
know
want
what
to put
happens.
a playground near train tracks?
Yes, they
Yeah,
do,
that's
and
true.
they want to they want to upgrade a park by the water. So therefore, is it really that 100% safe?
And right now you see a whole shot of the park. It's actually quite small.
And Rick, there's a puppy dog in the park here playing right now, enjoying. Look at that. Rick's a puppy dog guy.
Oh yeah, I love puppy dogs. Yes, I do.
I'll
And,
just Rick, give you a shot of the
Here's our signs.
their signs.
Our mayor, our Dodge, Dale Hodge's wife, widow, wrote us an article in the Herald. So it makes a big difference.
And I know Calgary. I've been to Calgary a couple of times, And it is, but I mean, it is a city, a municipality that is accused of urban sprawl. You know that
Right.
they've built over time way out and is spread way out because they've had so much land to work with. But I think the community still has a lot of land that they could work with.
Yep.
With that.
What part of the community or the city are you in? What area of
So
Calgary?
I'm in
And
Boness, and
yes,
we're on the east side of the train tracks.
okay. And is this primarily like a an urban neighborhood, a suburb? It's
So
not downtown or anything like that. It's not in the
It's a
core.
resident that has been here for over 100 years.
it was
Yeah.
like in history, Bowness was his own little small town outside of Calgary.
Right.
Eventually, we moved to get like we merged. I don't.
Amalgamation. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we merged. It's about 1960 something, 63, I think it was, that
Yeah.
we merged into the city of Calgary. But we
Yeah.
were still a small town
Yeah.
vibe. When people buy here
Got
or
it.
want to rent here, because they want that small vibe, small
Yeah.
town vibe,
Well, not
and that's
only
what we need.
Yeah, only that too. This summer, our water line broke, and we had to boil our water, and that was a big thing for us. We were the only neighborhood in the entire city that didn't have water, and it was pretty bad for us. So,
Yep.
in terms of having that fixed, that took a while, and then we went under a water restriction again.
It seemed to take them an obscene amount of time to fix that
Yeah,
water
so
main break.
you know,
Yeah.
all of these big buildings going up, like what will that happen just to our infrastructure alone? It's
Mhm.
just a little scary. I don't want to go through that.
Right.
You know, we need water
And
obviously daily,
and
and
are there any other buildings like this in the neighborhood, or would this be
No,
one of the only or the only 5 or 6 story walk up? Is it a walk up, or are there going to be elevators in it?
no,
Either
there'll
way,
be a
it's
walk.
5 or 6
oh,
stories.
there'll be elevators.
Yeah.
There'll be
Okay,
elevators.
so 5 or 6 stories.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I
any
can give
other?
you like a quick pan of
Yeah.
just really the area here. This is the tallest building right behind me, this blue one. That one is
Yeah.
2 stories. It's a
2 story.
Sorry, 3 stories. Yeah,
3 stories.
3 stories, and then right across the street here, and then this is the house right there. Those doors
Yeah.
are the opening of the house. I mean, that's facing the park. Like that is,
Yeah.
they're gonna have concrete right in front of there.
Yes.
We're walking on
Oh
this
yeah,
way.
we're just headed into the park now.
We'll just give you a
Okay.
shot of the park, Rick.
Okay.
Here we go. Give us a
And
tour.
So
I think there has been as well at some point a community meeting regarding this a month or 2 or 3 ago, if
right,
I'm
yeah,
not
and this
mistaken.
is it. I've been trying to fight this since 2023 for this park to stay as a park. So therefore,
Yeah.
I'm still questioning where you know what I mean, the feedback on it. Nobody's ever come out and actually personally talked to us about it. When these plant trees came in 2018, it's a park. This is what you see.
But
Not
did they not?
everybody.
I thought they did have at least one opportunity for people to come to some sort of a public session to share their views
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the developer. It was an open house. It was the
Yes.
developer.
It was the developer, not the city.
No, it had
Oh,
nothing.
Clarify that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
So it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the city of Calgary. It had to do with the developer only.
Okay.
So therefore, the feedback came back. People are mad. People are getting mad. People are getting frustrated that they're taking this beautiful place of Boness and destroying it with all these big and density housing. I know we have a crisis, but the crisis is you can still build a fourplex or an 4 or 6plex, not so high in density, but you can still put it on a small lot and still make a family for four to go in there. So therefore, they just want everything to go up like sardines, and they don't. They're not caring of what the residents want, and this is what we're having the problems with. Because if when it comes down to it, they take this beautiful park away from us, we will never ever get this back again. This is over 30 plus years that has been part of Boness. and it gets used by the bike race every year for 19 years. Um, Kids come here, on a daily basis. That we have kids that when they're not in school, they do come and hang out here. So you might not see any kids at this moment, but you know what I mean. This is
So yeah,
We
chances.
got a
and
puppy
this
dog
is
here.
this
Yeah,
housing that we're talking about here. This is
yeah,
what they're referring to as affordable housing, which translated means it's government housing geared to income. And as I look
yeah,
around at the structures that are there, the homes, it looks to me like you have sort of a mix of private ownership, like
yeah,
single family units,
yeah,
houses, and then
yeah,
you also have those larger 3-story or 4-story units,
yeah.
and those look to me like government housing,
Nope,
probably affordable.
they're
No, or are
all
they
owned.
townhouses?
Yeah, they're like a
They're like
townhouse.
houses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they were built back way in the 80s, or
yeah.
in late 70s, 80s. So they've been part of Bonus. And
Hmm.
at first, like my mother-in-law, like we lived by them. First, we were not too keen about it, but it's not as bad as what's going to go up in this area right here
Hmm.
alone. This is going to shadow. If you see the sun on these houses now, will
Hmm.
not get those shadows, and they will not get the sun anymore. They'll get only shadow. So that
Okay.
means electricity. This house here, for example, the side door,
Hmm.
privacy. Where's the privacy for that on the side doors? What about here? If you look in the distance, those are sardine houses. That, you know what I mean? That's what I call them, because they're just going up, and they're not looking in for the residents. They're not caring what the residents want or need. I understand that we are going everywhere, that we're going for a crisis, but
It's just
we don't need a
taking the
density.
green space is just not the solution
Yeah.
Hmm.
to the housing crisis that
Is
we
there
are very
public
well. Sorry?
is there public transit that runs through that area?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
So we do have it, and that's why they picked this area alone.
yeah, yeah.
Is because of the main busing that goes through. But this is a park. This is a green space. This is where people grow. This is where people meet. Like I just met Leslie like a month ago when I started doing my petition. So therefore I became pretty good friends with her.
Yeah,
You
we
know what I
see
mean?
each other every
Sure.
day.
You see, even if we when our petition's done
Hmm.
and we win our part, because that's what we have, we're gonna win this part.
Yeah.
And I've been calling all the time. I call daily on our, you know, 311 and to our councils, and uh,
I
I've
think
been
that,
on board with everything.
yeah, and I
So
think they're the
you
ones to help us, right?
yeah,
They are the ones that have to help us. Like the
right.
mayor, our Ward 1 counselor, they really need to step up and help us. And I don't think it is too terrible to want to keep this green space. Lots of development, lots of areas to put a building like this. Taking away a park from the neighborhood kids is just not the answer.
This
It's
is
Sure.
only
And
one of three
we
and a half parks that are going to be here on the
yeah.
east side. So if you take this park, we only have two parks, two and a half parks, because the kitties
Hmm.
that went down the street after all these buildings that are going up, the units, 1,048 units going around this park. So I
Let's just
think
keep
that,
it. Let's
and we
keep this
have the
one.
research. Yeah, if you can't, we're not going to get this back on the east side. We'll never
Sure.
get it
And
back.
with that kind of density, population density, you'll see an increase in all kinds of, social issues like, I mean, you name it. You bring in a lot more people, you're going to have more crime. You're going to have more of,
Yep.
all the bad stuff. Maybe some good stuff too. But regardless, it's going to change the nature, the feel, the atmosphere, the fabric of the neighborhood, right? And you have
Right.
had some protests, and has the mayor responded to that at all? Mayor Jody
No,
Gondik? No.
no, she hasn't. No. I did send out emails to all the Ward 1 to 14, and I
Hmm.
did send out my email to Asanya, which is Ward 1. So therefore, I'm getting some back feedback, not a lot of support with it. So that's why
Yeah.
we are going with our petition.
You
So
do have, Rick, actually, you have the support of Dale Hodges is passed away now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Who's Dale
Former
Hodges?
counselor.
Okay.
But tell him about his wife supporting you guys, Dale Hodges.
So she wrote an article in Calgary Herald about green spaces, which we've got up on our where our signs are, so people can actually read. And then we're having more people coming out, reaching out to us, and saying the same thing. We need to keep our parks and green spaces the
Okay.
way they are, and
Dale
And-
Hodges.
separate them.
Tell them
And-
about, tell our
Yeah.
family audience about Dale Hodges.
Oh yeah, so Dale Hodgins was the alderman for I guess in Bonus, right?
Yeah,
Jackie?
for years.
And, he just loved green spaces. He actually has a park named after him,
Yeah.
and he yeah. So there's a park, and it was very very important to him. His wife, she's now widowed, and she wrote this lovely article in support of parks, and she knew that that Jackie and I were fighting for this park
And supporting you as well.
Oh well, we do have a lot of support. Jackie
Yeah.
is the one who started the petition. She came right over. We are neighbors of the park, and I joined her right away. I said, you know, we've watched our neighborhood. You know, the old houses be torn down, and you know, obviously we need new development, but the green space, I'm so for the green space, and really I'll be very sad if
Well,
if
yeah. We'll be
yeah.
seeing
And these
issues like
trees.
this come to the surface more and
Right.
more in communities across
You wanna hold it
Canada and the U.S. as governments, try to solve this huge housing crisis that we are facing. Where are we at in the process right now with this? Has the zoning been changed, and is this already approved, or where are you at, or is this?
That's what you cited.
So
Yeah.
so we're fighting to rezone it. So we're gonna fight it for 200 years. So then for our generation, 7 or
Yeah.
8 generation to go through. So then
Right.
they have something to go on.
Yeah,
And,
but what I'm asking is, the municipality has to go through a process. They
Yeah.
will
Oh, yes.
deal with it in council. So has the zoning been approved yet,
No, it
or
hasn't.
not?
So right
Okay.
now, the city of Calgary still owns the property.
Yeah.
They haven't
Right.
sold it.
So
As far as I know, the developer will not build if the zoning doesn't get through. So right now, it's a residential RC2. They want to change it to an MU1. I guess the public hearing is the date is not set yet. So right now it's in review with all of the comments. The neighbors will
Okay.
soon be able to engage the city. That has not happened yet, but that will be. I'm not really sure in terms of timeline, but I think weeks. They'll engage with the neighbors, open it up to public for their comments, and after that, I'm thinking in a couple of months it'll be the hearing, but that hasn't been set. Jackie and I will be there.
So you still have some time,
Yeah.
and you will no doubt be adding your names to the list of speakers who will be
Definitely.
deputized for public comment at these council meetings coming up.
Yeah, we've never been to one, so we're just excited. We do have a team that is helping us, and
Yep.
we I mean, Jackie and I sit outside, like we get a lot of signatures for the petition, and
Nothing really negative about it. Like we've had, I'd say 2% that were not. They were for the building.
Right.
But besides that, everybody's like, this is drawing the line. You're taking parks and green spaces away from people that need it.
especially people who have lived here all their lives, Jackie included. I'm fairly new to the neighborhood. I moved here because of, the green space. It's right next to my house, and that was a big draw. I just love what Bowness is, and now that I see it
Okay.
changing.
Hey,
Yeah, me-
listen, we people here in our audience are always asking, what can we do to make a difference and get things back to normal or to improve our communities? And what you guys are doing right now is you're leading by example. This is exactly what you do if you want to improve your community. You get involved and you speak up and you do things in a positive way. You just get your name on the list of speakers. You start a petition. You call attention to issues that are important to you. You might not always get what you want. You might not always get your way, but you add your voice, and that's how we all make a difference. And and that's what we're all about here, right? Is just trying to do things in a positive and constructive way.
Yeah, and we've got over 700 signatures. We have beyond. So therefore, every day we're getting more and more signatures coming out. People, sometimes they miss us, and we're out here, giving it to them, like, here, sign it. We want the feedback from you guys, because this is important to us. It's important to your future, just not our future. It's everybody's future, especially newcomers that are coming to Canada or into Calgary, or, It's important for them to know about the parks. And
Sure.
Why wouldn't you like a park? You know what I mean? I love a park. I love swinging on the swing.
I don't know where all these park haters came from suddenly. It's like, we got to shut that park down. We got to dump some concrete in there. I don't understand it. But ladies,
Yeah, and like I said, they wanted Cersei Trail to come through here. My mother-in-law fought it. They put a park in here, the city of Calgary. Now they put the trees in here, so now it's starting to get to more as a park looking. We're going to fight to upgrade it when we win, and we're going to
where the
win.
heck are you going to go to fly a kite if you don't have a park? Right?
Exactly, right?
And also, too, just one thing I wanted to clarify. With it's Bowness Park. It's Bowness Park is in a different area of Bowness altogether. It's closer to the river. This park, I'm not sure if it has a name. Jackie, do you know?
No, it doesn't have a name. It's just
doesn't have a name.
No, because it's 6623 Bowness Road. That's what
the address.
That's the address.
Yeah.
And I would love to call it a name.
I'm gonna name it when we win it. Honestly, it's zoned right now for residential. Jackie and I are going to win the zoning, and then we will get it zoned as a park.
This park, John, is the perfect park for the entire Maverick family, because we are the family of misfit toys here. This is what, and that is our island, John. That is the park of misfit toys.
Yes. Well, we will put you on the list for Maverick Park.
The poor little orphan park with no name. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we could call it whatever. Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. When we win the park, we have to name it. So we are going to leave that up to the residents. Yeah. And then as many residents that come by and say this is what this park should be, well then, that's what the residents want, right? That's what Bowness is all about. It is all about family. This is family. It doesn't matter if you're new or old. Like we just met John a couple of weeks ago, and he's like it's like family. Yeah. You can't ask for a better place.
He knows where to find us now. Every day.
Every day.
And he's come down to see us a few times. And he gets to sit with us and hang out.
Exactly.
Well, I'll throw it to you, John, for a final word. Go ahead, sir.
Rick, if you want something done, put two women on it.
Those two women, yes.
Put two women on it. This is like Thelma and Louise. I mean, are they not awesome?
They are,
feisty.
yes.
We are very I'm feisty. Yeah. I don't like to lose. Oh. But I can lose because I'm a good sport.
She said she's a sore loser.
Yeah. But I'm not. We're winning. We're gonna win it.
Okay.
So
with the support,
all right, guys.
Even John and you, thank you so much for putting us on the air and allowing us to tell our story. I mean,
sure. Well, that's what this is all about. That's what this place is for. We give people a voice, especially those who would otherwise be voiceless. So you're always welcome here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And thank you, John, for bringing us all together tonight. Excellent work,
Love
my
you,
friend.
Maverick. Love you guys worldwide. Peace around the world, folks.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
See you, my fellow misfit toys. Stay safe out there.
We appreciate it. Love you back.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and before we get into the really heavy stuff tonight, since we just saw that puppy dog playing in the park, I gotta play you the Free Dog song. And just a reminder, any donation of $10 or more tonight, and I will send you the whole Free Dog album, 10 songs about freedom, all written and composed just to give you some inspiration and hope.
Just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams. He's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog. He's a free dog. He's a free dog. A tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmos run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. A tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur. A tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting old and the sky's turning gray. But Cosmos still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With Maverick the field, breaking all the legs. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
I am the president. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. I am the president. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
I
And this is what's happening in our country. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
I am the president. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. I am the president. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Exile. The Knights of Malta. Maverick News. Join us. The world is watching.
Okay, what I failed to mention in the headlines tonight is a tragic story. No, this is not InfoWars, and I'm not going to give it the InfoWars treatment, not at all. But in Ontario, here in Canada, in a community up around, I believe, the Kitchener-Waterloo area, a child has passed away after a bat got into this child's bedroom. So this has been confirmed by a health official in Brant County in Ontario, Canada. And Dr. Malcolm Locke of the Halton and Norfolk County's County Medical Unit, Health Unit, has confirmed that this child has passed away from rabies. So the name of the child, the family, has not been released because of the fact that we're dealing with a young person. And I guess as the story is conveyed to us, the child was alone in the room. Somehow a bat got into the room and was sleeping, I guess. When the parents found the bat, they, of course, took measures to get the bat out of there, and they checked the child over, didn't see any evidence or signs that the child had been bitten, and so they did not seek medical attention. But as a result, the child did contract rabies and has passed away. I do have a comment here, if I can just take a moment to get it queued here for you. I hope we still have it. We had it. Also, I'm going to be talking about this Taylor Swift story. Here we go. Okay. So yes, this is the commentary made. I believe this is the medical officer of health for Brant County. And here it is. What a tragedy.
We've had one unfortunate death from rabies, which also highlights the fact that rabies is still an entity, it's still circulating. And this particular case was contracted in Northern Ontario, but this year, as opposed to previous years, the bats themselves are testing positive, and we've had a 16% positivity rate of tested bats for rabies this year, as opposed to in the less than 10 in previous years. So that's another thing that we're trying to make the public aware of, that if they become if they have any communication with bats at all, or wake up with a bat in their room, then they should seek advice. Unfortunately, the case that we had here, it was a child, and basically they woke up with a bat in a room. The parents looked at the child, didn't see any signs of a bite or scratches or saliva, and didn't seek getting the rabies vaccine. So unfortunately, that child is now deceased. Nearly all the cases that we've had result in death. So it's extremely important that people that have any form of exposure seek the proper medical attention.
It's terrible. You know, the rabies vaccine has been extremely effective. And based on the information available, there's no clear definitive trend indicating the rabies cases are universally on the rise in Canada or the US, although we just heard that in that area they're getting positive tests coming back at a rate of about 16% with bats. And there have been some notable incidents and discussions regarding this. On the U.S. side, the Center for Disease Control and other sources mentioned that while the overall number of animal rabies cases has seen fluctuations, the proportion of the cases attributed to bats remains significant. Bats are indeed a primary reservoir for rabies in the United States and Canada. And there have been mentions of human deaths related to bat-transmitted rabies in the U.S. as well. However, these cases still represent a very small number annually, suggesting that while bats are a concern, the overall incidence of human rabies remains low due to effective post-exposure treatment and awareness. Now, in Canada, there was, of course, this case involving this child in the Brantford area, not far from Kitchener-Waterloo, who has now passed away after coming into contact with that rabid bat. And so while rare, bat-transmitted rabies can be fatal. And people need to be aware of the risks. We do have a lot of bats even around here where I live. When you go out at night, you don't really see them, but I've had them swoop past my head when I've just been out walking in the evening. And so while there's awareness and discussion around rabies, especially on social media platforms, those discussions often highlight individual cases or reminders for caution rather than reporting on an increasing trend. So it's not really clear at this point if we're getting sort of an increase or not. The data and reports from health organizations suggest that while wildlife rabies, including from bats, continues to be a concern, the number of human cases remains extremely low thanks to preventive measures like vaccination of pets, wildlife management, and prompt medical intervention post-exposure. Now, what's the history behind these rabies vaccines? Well, the first rabies vaccine was developed by Louis Pasteur and Émile Roux in 1885, and the vaccine was a nerve tissue vaccine made from infected rabbit spinal cords, which was inactivated by drying. While effective, it carried significant risks back then, including allergic reactions due to neural tissue. And then over time, the vaccines for rabies evolved. But in the 1950s, the Semple vaccine, which was also made from nerve tissue but less reactogenic, was widely used. And then by the 1960s, the development of cell culture vaccines, like the human diploid cell vaccine HDCV, marked a significant improvement, reducing side effects and increasing efficacy. And these were followed by other cell culture vaccines like the purified chick embryo cell vaccine, or PCECV, and purified varicocell rabies vaccine, PVRV. And today's vaccines are produced in cell cultures or embryonic eggs, not using nerve tissue at all, significantly reducing adverse reactions. And they include both pre-exposure prophylaxis for those at risk, like veterinarians, and post-exposure prophylaxis for anyone who may have been exposed to rabies and had that child been taken for treatment. The outcome would have probably been much, much different. The child would likely be alive today. Historically, rabies was more prevalent in Canada before, but through effective vaccination campaigns especially for pets and wildlife management. The number of human cases has been dramatically reduced over the years. Since 1924, there have been 26 reported human rabies cases in Canada, with the last few decades showing a trend where almost all cases were associated with bat variants. The most recent notable case involving a child in 2023, highlighting bats as an ongoing concern despite the rarity of human infections. And isn't it interesting that at the height of the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was much speculation that the virus may have come from bats. Very interesting. And so we're seeing these stories emerge now. Both Canada and the US have robust policies for vaccinating domestic animals, and that has been crucial in reducing rabies transmission to humans. Ongoing surveillance alongside public education about avoiding contact with wildlife, especially bats, continues to be crucial in preventing human cases. I remember as a child, a young person, another kid, was bitten by a dog, and the dog ran away. They couldn't find the dog, so wasn't really a close friend, but I knew the other kid, and they had to go get rabies shots, and it was very painful because they couldn't find the dog to test it to find out if it was rabid or not. So took no chances, had to get rabies shots, go through the treatment. So despite all the measures that are in place, rabies does remain enzootic in certain wildlife populations, necessitating continued vigilance, and the rarity of human cases can lead to complacency, which poses a risk if preventive measures are not maintained. And that is, I think, was a contributing factor potentially here in this particular case involving the tragic death of this child. So a little public awareness for you there tonight, folks. Regardless of where you live. I'll be right back.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We are back. All right. So, yesterday we talked about Justin Trudeau on life support, still descending into a place of almost desperation, I would say, because of the pressure that's being applied for an early election. Get him to the polls. The NDP and the Bloc in Canada try to squeeze Trudeau for anything they can get out of him before they finally turn on him and force Parliament to dissolve so that we go to the polls and have an election. Yesterday, the Bloc putting pressure on for a 10% increase in pension benefits to seniors, 65 to 74, I believe. And the Liberals voted against it, but all the minority parties, the Conservatives, the NDP, and the Bloc ganged up And because the Liberals have a minority government, they passed the motion, but it's not binding. It was a private member's bill put forward, and because the approval really came from the opposition parties collectively, not the sitting government, it's sort of a stalemate at this point. So the bloc has given, so the government, Trudeau, is saying, no, we lost the vote, and you guys managed to show that the House supports a 10% increase, but we're not going to give it to you at this point because it's not binding. And of course, that would need to be integrated into a budget, which can make this a vote of confidence. But they didn't get what they really wanted, not yet. Now we're looking at an October 29th deadline. And the leader of the Bloc Québécois is saying if they don't get the 10% increase in the pension money, we could be going to the polls early. He'll poll support, and in the next vote of confidence in the House, they'll gang up, vote with the Conservatives, and the government will fall because they'll have a vote of confidence, and then we'll have an election. And a new development with regard to that, a new poll just came out in response to this political drama that has been unfolding in the House of Commons, showing that a majority of Canadians support increasing the old age security benefit by 10% for seniors 65 to 74. The poll was done by Nanos Research on behalf of CTV. The poll says more than 3 in 4 Canadians support or somewhat support the proposed increase, with support strong across Canada, across gender, and also across age groups. Of course it's popular. Who doesn't want to help out the poor seniors? That motion passed in the House 181 to 143, but of course Trudeau doesn't want to give a penny more, even though he's the one who's always sitting there saying that they are the party for the middle class and they're going to help the little guy. Here's exactly an opportunity to do just that, especially people on fixed incomes. And he's saying, no way. Even in the face of massive inflation over the last few years, where prices have increased, in some cases, doubling for a lot of essential items, Trudeau's digging in his heels and there's resistance on this. And it could cost him. It could cost him his government. And I know people are frustrated. People still want to go to the polls. They want an early election. And people keep saying, oh, he'll never leave. No, he's going. You can see it. The writing is on the wall. That's what this is all about. And it isn't that the Bloc or the NDP or even the Conservatives are all that kind-hearted. This is political grandstanding. This is strategy. It's designed to create an issue or highlight an issue in a way that gives talking points and scores political points for the opposition parties against Trudeau, and in a way that lets them head into an election on their terms, not Trudeau's terms. So this is politics in high gear, and that's what's playing out right now. So keep your ear to the ground, keep your eyes peeled, and keep sniffing, because I can smell an election in the air. What else do we have for you this evening? We have this situation in the Middle East. We're seeing that Israeli media is saying that Hashim Safieddine, the presumed successor to the late Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, has been targeted in a bunker buster airstrike in Beirut's southern end. The strikes were reportedly similar in intensity. Both of them, I guess, two explosions involving 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs that left large craters and caused massive explosions. Here I have video queued up and ready to show you here. This is the video to back up that information, and it appears to be very credible. It is believable. I believe this to be true.
إذا غارات كبيرة جدا رياض في هذه الأثناء يشنها العدو الإسرائيلي على الضاحية الجنوبية. إذا غارات عنيفة جدا يواصل شنها العدو الإسرائيلي على الضاحية الجنوبية في هذه الأثناء.
Things are escalating. Every day we get a little closer and a little closer and a little closer to, I don't even want to say it anymore, but we're seeing it in real time. Something I never thought we would see in my lifetime, but it's happening. Now, there's also a report tonight, or reports anyway, that Israel may have bombed a munitions storage facility in Syria, a Russian ammo storage facility. Now, is that true? Is that true? I don't know. That information and even the accompanying video, not clear enough for me to say yes or no. I don't know. That's what I'm saying about that. It appears it may well be true, and we're seeing multiple reports, but again, because of the sites that I see it coming from, even with the accompanying video, I'm not 100% convinced that it's entirely accurate. Let me just take another quick break here. I'm going to come back and I'll get you the latest information. The rest of it out of Gaza. Here we go.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
So yeah, here's the video of what's supposed to be an Israeli bomb hitting a Russian storage depot in Syria. Again, take this with a dose of question, because I don't know if it's accurate. But this is the video. Some of these posts are coming from sources that are questionable, and I think partly what it is when we're seeing posts that are not entirely accurate like that, if it's not true, I have seen stuff out there, it seems to be because, well, you can question the motivations behind it, but it's not good to be lying like that. There's always some negative reason behind lying. Well, not always. You can tell a white lie, I guess, but in these cases, you know what I'm getting at. I think it's because they're trying to make it look like the other side is the one responsible for escalation and conducting war crimes even, and things of that nature. Now, I also wanted to talk a bit about this guy who smashed up the Taylor Swift guitar. Okay? Have you seen that video? I don't normally talk about a lot of celebrity stuff, but Taylor Swift has injected herself directly into the political, the U.S. presidential race. I mean, she's right there in the center. Donald Trump even posted on social media, "I hate Taylor Swift," which I don't think was necessarily wise. Let me see if I can find you the video of the guy smashing up that guitar. Have you seen that? I mean, it's sort of funny. So this guy goes to this auction, and he supposedly buys this guitar for like $4,000 at this auction, and then here's what he does. He goes over and he takes a hammer to it. And this video has gone ultra viral across social media. Here we go. I've got her for you now. Here's the man. Him and Donald Trump hate Taylor Swift.
Joking. Because we don't need the wall hanger.
It's supposed to be a signed autographed Taylor Swift special.
Gary, now take that, hang up that busted thing. Joking.
Some of the comments that I saw online afterward, really a variety of comments. Some people saying that guy's going to be the first one to complain about this or that, criticizing the guy. But what we're finding out tonight is it wasn't really that serious. So this guy is saying that it was all a joke. The whole thing was just a gag. And he's really triggered the Swifties out there by doing this. So his name is Gary Estes. And he said he wasn't trying to be mean-spirited or anything by smashing up the Taylor Swift-themed guitar. But he admits he doesn't like that Taylor Swift has come out to endorse Kamala Harris. This guy's from Texas. The video went viral, of course, and he bought this guitar, apparently, for like $4,000. It was a charity auction. And this 67-year-old guy, he's now on the Swiftie. I think he's like the number one most hated man among Swifties in America now. And he smacked it with that hammer something like 17 times in total. But he says it was really just meant to be a joke. And he says that he's down there in an area of Ellis County where it's kind of like Trump country. And I don't know. People laughed, unless you were like you're a hardcore Taylor Swift fan, or maybe even a hardcore Democrat. He said there was not supposed to be anything malicious about it, and he did some interviews with some media, including NBC. He says it was just a joke at this auction. He was just there to help raise money for kids. He says that's all it really was. But boy, the Swifties have lost their minds over this. It's just, and it is kind of funny. It's kind of funny to see the people losing their minds over it. I don't know what else to tell you, except that it's not really a $4,000 guitar. So we're finding this kind of information online about this guitar too, which looks like it's really only worth, what, about $150? Because I guess you can buy these things online. I don't think it was an authentic Taylor Swift autograph. It may have been like a photographic reproduction and graphic applied to this this guitar that this guy bought. So it was a version of this, I think, that he actually has. There it is there. Taylor Swift signed customer Eras Tour Art signed autographed guitar with gig bag. Gotcha. So did he really pay $4,000? He probably did, because it was a charity auction. And then he took a hammer to it. You know, it's just the environment out there right now is pretty caustic. Very, very caustic. That's why we're seeing, you know, people. Some of these people are mean-spirited. I mean, it's just they really are. Some of these folks that are out there these days. And they're saying there's like I think there's mental illness that is just spreading like mental cancer out there. So if you're paying attention to the abortion issue, like here's a woman here who is going viral because she's saying, well, she would take her dog over a baby any day. Now, I have to admit, when I was younger, and I was first married, and my wife said, oh, well, let's have a family. And I was like, can't we just get a dog? Because I don't know if I'm going to be a good dad. Right? And so I went and got a dog. Because I was afeared of screwing up being a dad. But the dog didn't displace anything. Pretty soon I had a dog and a baby. Well, anyway, this lady here, she just wants to stick with her canine companion. And some people are saying her comments are, well, shocking.
As many of you saw, I had an abort earlier this year, not only because I don't want children right now, but you want to know the real reason? I already have a baby. It's this one right here. And he cost me a lot of time and energy and money. And if I had to choose between a human baby's needs and this one, I'm choosing this one. Every time. That's why this fall, there's only one candidate protecting our reproductive freedoms. And if she doesn't win, don't make me choose between a human baby and this one. Because this one wins every freaking time.
I don't know. People can have their opinions, but some of the stuff, people just take it so far. And, you know, we're seeing Biden again in the disaster area, dealing with Hurricane Helene today. Kamala Harris handing out meals. And then there's this lady also going viral, but in a really, really sick and negative way. And I just play this for you tonight because it sort of highlights the deep division in the country and how dangerous I think all of this is becoming. So here's this woman politicizing in a really negative way and wishing death upon her political enemies. Oh my God, the storm. The storm. Yeah. A progressive liberal who has lost her moral compass, I would say. And this is an illustration of the political sickness on both sides, honestly. All sides, out around the fringes, that has infected our society. Here she is.
So when I seen the hurricane hit North Carolina and Tennessee, the first thing I thought was, damn, there goes some racists. There we go, we got some gone. And then I just seen this video that like the area it hit is like sundown town after sundown town after sundown town, and they are just completely flattened and gone. And I was like, God's work, God's work. So
see, in her mind, they're not humans. These people that she despises have been dehumanized. That's what happens in wars. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing it play out in the Middle East. You're seeing it play out in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. Oh, yeah. No, they're all Nazis, see. You start calling people a bunch of Nazis, and you're just dehumanizing them and providing justification for the people that you're sending in there to kill other people. That's why that's done. It's a label. Now, there could be truth sometimes, some of these efforts to call attention to negative things like atrocities and so on. But really, in a time of war, the first thing that has to be done if you're leading some sort of a military operation is you need to convince your soldiers that the other side needs to be killed, either because they're a threat to you of some kind or because they're not even human. And you can't be sending people in to kill a bunch of people if their mindset is that they are human beings and deserving of some sort of compassion. You want to win the war, you dehumanize the other side. Unfortunately, we've been watching that politically, domestically, in Canada and the U.S., especially since the pandemic, where here in Canada, we saw people even calling for the unvaxxed to be placed in camps. I'm not making that up. Have you forgotten? Probably not. Especially those of you who maybe were afraid that you might get thrown into one of those camps. But in Canada, there were people calling for just that, and it was on the front page headlines on some of the major newspapers in the country when people were surveyed they were asked that question, and they came back affirming that. A large portion of the population who wanted to throw other people into camps. You're only doing that when you think that those people are a major threat to you or because you've been convinced that they are not even human. Dehumanization. It's a psychological tactic that is used to get people to kill each other. We're in a really dangerous place, folks, and that little soundbite, such as it is, it's anecdotal, but I'm hearing stuff like that on a much broader scale, and it's very worrying. We need to understand, realize that all people are humans, and that we're all deserving of some level of compassion. At the same time, we need to be vigilant and understand that there are other people out there who would like to kill us. So we need to always have our guard up as well. Difficult balancing act, isn't it? Especially in a democracy, where you have a push and pull constantly in these issues, and it makes things very difficult for people to understand, especially when you're looking at our governments even funding or supporting both sides in a conflict. It makes no sense, people say. Well, it sort of does when it's coming from a democracy, because you have, even within a political party, opposing forces. Because even people within a political party don't always agree on some issues. They may agree on a variety of issues, and maybe even ideologically they might be aligned. But when it comes right down to the nitty-gritty, sometimes you get, even within the Democratic Party, the Democrat Party in the U.S., you have people who are very, very entrenched in their support for Palestine, and other people, even within that party, who are very adamantly supportive of Israel. So there's opposition there. The solution for the politician, support both sides. Watch your words very closely, carefully, speak carefully. Go around and around in circles, sometimes making it sound like a word salad so that you really end up saying nothing, and can be very confusing for people, when in reality what they're doing is they're trying to play both sides off against each other. And even the president may have a bias one way or another in a conflict, but at the end of the day, you're seeing it play out right now where they're actually supporting both sides to one degree or another, maybe one side more than another, in both of the major wars that are raging right now. And when you see the governments doing that, they're really in very dangerous territory. It leaves them vulnerable to criticism, because they can be criticized from both sides now, where they think they're being smart and avoiding controversy or criticism. In reality, in the end, our political adversaries, our geopolitical adversaries, exploit that. And they say, you see who they're supporting, and they'll only pick the one side and make it look bad that way. Or they'll even say, look, these people are dysfunctional, they're hypocritical, they just want to get rich, so they're supporting both sides. They're funding both sides so they fight and make money. More realistically, it's because of the opposing forces within the political parties and politicians just looking to appeal to various voter blocs, different demographics, to try and get the most votes that they can. You're seeing it play out that way. Which means, in the end, too, you don't really know what you're going to get from a politician until you get them in office, regardless of what they say, because if they're a very skilled, professional politician, they probably can't be trusted at all because they're talking out of both sides of their mouth at the same time. And you find out what you get when you get it at the end of the day, because they're lying. Because they're afraid of you. And they want your vote, so a lot of them just tell you whatever they think you want to hear, or say what they think they need to say, for a variety of different reasons. Enough of that for tonight. Do I have anything else to share with you tonight? Oh, I want your opinion on Jordan Peterson. Help me out with this. He was at this Rescue the Republic event. My opinion on Jordan Peterson is that the jury's kind of out for me at this point. I was like, wow, this guy's really smart when he first came on the public scene during the pandemic. But since then, I'm beginning to wonder about the guy. You know? Thrust forward at this event, Rescue the Republic, given a major platform to speak. This is a psychologist who now comments on all kinds of issues, regardless of what they might be, from geopolitics and wars to psychology and even medical issues. Interesting, the title of this too, you know, Rescue the Republic. The Republic, the Republic. It's always about the Republic. What kind of Republic are they getting at? Well, maybe we'll get into that more another night, because I don't think it is exactly what they mean, or what you think they mean, or it might mean at this event. What kind of republic are we talking about, folks? I hear a lot of people here in Canada saying they'd like to reshape our government, replace it even with a republic, instead of the kind of government we have, a parliamentary democracy, the Dominion of Canada. No, they'd rather have a republic. What kind of a republic? Like the People's Republic of China? That kind of republic? I wonder. Or the kind of republic we have in the U.S., that's a different kind of republic altogether. You know, when I look at Jordan Peterson here, look at his outfit. And this is nothing scientific or anything like that. It's just sort of an observation. Is that style, or is it a statement of some kind? He's got a two-colored jacket on. Sort of a burgundy, stylish, you know, snappy-looking outfit on the one side. And then on the other side, it's blue. You know, the first thing that reminded me of, as soon as I saw that, I thought Two-Face from Batman. Right? Like Two-Face, split personality. And then I started to think about Jordan Peterson, and, you know, he's like this huge hero of the freedom movement. He's become this spokesperson for the freedom movement. He speaks out against the mandates and even the thing in the arm. But, you know, he got vaxxed. He got vaxxed. And then, you know, he writes this book with a list of rules to make your life better. It says, clean up your own room. But, you know, he kind of went off the deep end and had a little bit of I understand, some issue with prescription medication, and disappeared for some months. Was that about 1.5 or 2 years ago now? And he was just like out of the limelight altogether for a while, nowhere to be found, because he was dealing with sort of a substance addiction problem himself. And then I saw this video where he talked about all he eats is like meat. No vegetables, meat. And I thought, that's kind of in itself a little bit weird. That's a little bit odd. I've never heard of anybody just eating meat before. But that's, I don't know if he's still doing that, but he was doing it for a while and claims that, you know, he personally benefited from doing that because he was having sort of health issues and maybe even allergic reactions to different kinds of foods and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, and he didn't, he suggests that everybody should be doing it. He did acknowledge that it was very unusual, but I thought it was unusual for him to be doing it. And I don't know, it just, again, it just struck me as odd. And so here's again, like, it's strange to me how we in society prop these personalities, these celebrities up, put them on a pedestal somehow, and embrace them and listen to them, follow them, when I'm not even sure this guy has his life together. I think he's got a lot of personal problems from what I've seen over the last few years. And not that I dislike him or anything, and I think he is very smart, but I've just seen real cracks in his life. This is coming from a guy that people are following. And I think that the suit is almost a metaphor for that. The split image, the split personality, the two-face, the dual personality, you know? The two lives. There's the public persona, and then there's the real Jordan Peterson. That's kind of what I got from it. I thought maybe he's even trying to tell us something with that fashion statement on that stage. And there he stands with Russell Brand, who also seems to be kind of, honestly, I mean, I kind of like him in a way. He's very entertaining and funny. I don't watch him a lot. But even there's a guy who's very flawed, all over the map, kind of, in my estimation, flaky. I think that's a pretty accurate word. And also stood accused of a lot of, sexual impropriety during his dating period, which I think is still ongoing. I think he's still in the game that way, young enough. But again, people following him, I kind of wonder sometimes why people put these celebrities up on pedestals like that. Whether you look at rock stars who abuse drugs, live a life of decadence, live fast, die young of an drug overdose, sometimes, often, and leave a good-looking corpse, I guess. I mean, that's the way the saying goes. And people idolize that stuff. They love that stuff. They feed off the misery and glamorize it. But there's nothing glamorous about it. It's dysfunctional. And I kind of wonder what these guys are doing on the stage. Why we follow people like this when you can see that maybe they just don't have it all together after all. Should we really be following these guys? And again, nothing really personal against them. I watch them, but I don't idolize them. I don't put them up on a pedestal. I don't find my moral compass through either one of these guys, and much so less so through Jordan Peterson now than I did before. Not that I solely found morality through him before either. And he does seem to have good things to say and good advice overall. And sometimes, I guess, even if your life is messed up, maybe you can still give good advice to other people simply because you realize how screwed up you are. So you can say, don't be like me. But it concerns me. I see a lot of people, especially in this group, this political group, a lot of the people over there are just a bloody mess. Frankly, they're a bloody mess. And these guys are basically in the RFK camp. Maybe Trump more in the Trump camp. Maybe they're both in. But anyway, this Rescue the Republic event was largely kind of the RFK crowd, the libertarians, the anarchists, the displaced Republicans and homeless Democrats, the progressives who have been sort of pushed out because they're not quite in sync with what's going on. That's what this crowd was. And they talk about the resistance over there too, and I find that very interesting because, you know, when I look at what's going on geopolitically around the world right now, what do we have? We've got the Western countries, which is us. And then on the other side we have, what do they call it? The axis of resistance. And they talk about the resistance all the time, even over on InfoWars. What's the word they keep using over there? I've used it here, but not in the way that the axis of resistance uses it. But Alex Jones, if you're watching this transmission, you are the resistance. Are you the resistance? What are you resisting? It's very interesting to me because that same word, that same kind of phrasing is being used right now by these countries that are becoming more and more aligned in what appears to be an actual third world war that is escalating, us against the axis of resistance. And yet here I see people basically giving up, hating their country after complaining, especially before the pandemic, about people hating their country. Before the pandemic, I would always hear, and I was on board with this. I didn't like it when our statues were torn down. I didn't like it when people spoke poorly of our country. I didn't like it when I saw our history being revised, rewritten, in ways that I know do not reflect the realities of the past, but is being done for political purposes. I don't like that. And the older I get, the crankier I get about it. And yet, now what do I see? The very people that I was aligned with before, a lot of them, now they're the first to criticize our country. Because during the pandemic, we lost so much trust in our government institutions. Why did that happen? For a lot of different reasons. And even here, just a few moments ago, I ran that transitional video, that transition, showing the bomber coming across the sky, and then the news anchors all talking about, the threat to our democracy, all in sync, in unison. And it seems like it's a big conspiracy. And it isn't. Not really a conspiracy. It is because of newswires. And so you could look at it as like a coordinated information distribution campaign, and maybe being done to warp your mind. There's some of that goes on. There's no question, especially from governments that, inject pieces of information into the information stream through the news cycle. And they know how to do that, of course. But the reason you get that kind of repetition with the consistency in messaging across the board, and I know this to be true because I worked in media for so long, it's because the information flows from the top down, and it's initially distributed through major newspapers and wire services. Newspapers like the New York Times will have a story that runs first, or Reuters news service, or in Canada, like Canada Press, Canadian Press, or Associated Press, and they get the initial story, and then that on the wire services goes out to every single newsroom across Canada and the US, and sometimes even around the world. Any newsroom, local newspaper, local radio station, even national broadcasters, national TV networks, they all get the same story coming across their wire service. In this case, it would be on a computer, not on a printer. Like I recall when I first got my baptism into journalism back in the day. But they're all getting that exact same story with that exact same phrasing. And so sometimes they just it's called rip and read. You would rip the wire copy and then run into the booth or go into the studio and you would just read this story if you're lazy. We were always taught that you would try to rewrite those stories so that it sounds fresh and original, so you don't sound like the radio station down the street, so that you don't sound like the radio station 2 states over, or like every other radio station across the country and every television station, so that you don't end up in the video that I just ran with all the news anchors mouthing and repeating the exact same lines, so that I don't get to take it and put it into a video, or Alex Jones or somebody else, and put it out there and make it look like there's some giant conspiracy to bake your brain. But there's a lot of laziness out there. And sometimes it's because there's like a public service that they're trying to convey, and they all get on board with it. And maybe it's because they are aligned politically, and they're trying to share a message. And, this is a danger to our democracy. Whatever the message was that day, that phrase was needed or decided that it was vital, so they all used it to get that particular message out. And then, of course, everybody gets spooked. Oh, look, it's a big conspiracy. Yeah, well, it's not really a conspiracy. It's kind of just the way information flow works. And it is sort of a conspiracy because it's true. Like, they do try to push particular narratives or information out. Governments, companies, you name it, big organizations of all kinds try to control their image by controlling the messaging. That's the way it works. And the way to get maximum distribution is to start at the top. You put the information in at the top. You get your information out and get the New York Times to print it, or get Reuters to share that in their wire feed. That's going out everywhere, man. That's worth a lot. That's the way the system works. It doesn't work from the bottom up. You working at a regional newsroom or even a local newsroom, you do a story, that information doesn't generally flow up the information chain. Not always, not usually, not unless you get a story that's big enough to make national news, that's of national interest. That story we just did about the people in the park, that's a very local story. I just nationalized that by sharing that with our audience, internationalized it really, because we have an audience that is in multiple countries. And the reason that we shared that story with you tonight is because that is an issue that is coming to the surface in communities across Canada and the United States, because we do have a big housing problem. And so that was a way to illustrate it in a very human way. We had those two champions of their neighborhood, those two ladies, on the program, sharing the story in a personal way, showing us around, showing us on the ground level what it really comes down to, and how this impacts the lives of people like them, ordinary, everyday people. What impact does Justin Trudeau's immigration policy have at the end of the day on somebody at the community level, an individual, families, the person walking the dog in the park right there, all the other misfits out there in Misfit Park, right, who are about to lose their park because Justin Trudeau and various provincial governments or state governments or Joe Biden or even Donald Trump or any of these politicians and bureaucrats just didn't get it right. And so now they have a problem, and they're coming up with their solutions, which in this case means taking away green space and putting more population density into a park. Well, I nationalized that story. We took that and shared that with the world, really, tonight, plus the people in Calgary. So hopefully there's benefit there as well, as we raise awareness on these issues. But that's the way information flow works. But normally you don't take a local story and nationalize it, only sometimes. Usually it flows down. That's why you get that consistency in messaging. And I share that information with you tonight again. And I think I have in the past, on at least one or maybe two occasions briefly, but in a little more detail here tonight, because we need to be more media literate in this day and age. Tonight, I'm sitting here showing you video of bombs going off in Gaza, and I'm sitting here saying, I don't even know if this is 100% accurate. I don't even know if it's true. This particular video, first posted 15 hours ago, and I still don't know for sure if it's really true. Is this really a Russian ammunition depot? Was it really bombed by Israel? There's a big fire there. Looks like there was an explosion, but really, where was it? I have no real way to verify, excuse me, any of that. Just because I see flames against the night horizon doesn't mean that what I'm looking at is what I'm being told it is. They can put any caption they want on that and completely mislead all of us. It's just an explosion. They could recycle, and they often do, footage that's completely unrelated and then say it's this or it's that. We've seen shots, like video in the past few months of ships in the Red Sea. We're told that have been attacked by this side or that side, severely damaged, and it's turned out to be completely false. Not even the ship that they claim it was, and it's from some other location altogether. They just put a picture of a ship on fire on social media, on X, and then put a caption on it and say that it's something that it isn't. And by the lie spread goes all the way around the world, the truth is still, as they say, trying to get its shoes tied up so it can go for a little walk. It's hard to put out these dumpster fires, these information dumpster fires that are set now every single day. But if we can talk about it, raise awareness so that you understand how information flow works, first of all, now you're armed. Armed with defensive weapons, your mind and knowledge, awareness, so that you don't fall prey in this information war. And as we continue moving forward, I hope I can help guide us all through the fog of war, the fog of the information war. The fog has never been thicker. But my whole background, my whole life, I've been immersed in media. Worked in media all my life. Studied media all my life. I've worked with every medium, practically, even film. Radio, television, print, online. I understand how online marketing works. I understand how the news business works intimately. I understand broadcasting. I know media. I know how it all shakes down. I've been around the block a few times. If anything, maybe, like you, I'm learning as I go now, because nothing I've done really has adequately prepared me for what we're going through right now. But man, it's been an education, and I continue to learn and learn and learn and learn about everything media today. Artificial intelligence, propaganda, the InfoWar. The pursuit of real truth. And that's another word that's just thrown around so loosely. I'm a truther, are ya? I see a lot of people out there sharing truth that is far from it, all the way around. And I see a lot of people deliberately lying to us. And nothing I dislike more than somebody calling themselves a journalist. Well, they lie. Drives me batty. Yeah. Batty. But fear not. No battiness is going to infect my brain with a virus long enough to keep me away from the truth, I'm going to resist the lies. And I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as our pursuit of the truth continues together. Love you, my Maverick family. See you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.